here on the telephone. And go ahead and give us a brief introduction on yourself, my friend. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Norm McCombs. I'm an engineer slash scientist by trade. I started out as a young man thinking about writing, and instead I split off into where I felt I could make some money, and that was in science and engineering. And I stayed on that path, considering that I would be coming back to writing eventually. And about the time that I was going to begin that, my dear wife Grace, developed Alzheimer's. And I spent the next almost 7 years caring for her, and wouldn't admit to needing help, and I pretty much ruined my health, and it was very difficult surviving it once I lost her. My reason for being was to take care of her for all that period of time, and when I lost her, I really didn't have any reason to exist. Friends convinced me that I should do what I talked about doing, writing again. And it was going to be sort of a memoir, but it turned into a novel. So it consists of me describing how I survived, how I came out of deep depression after losing dear Grace. And I met a woman, a librarian, that helped me to look back at my life, my ancestry, and it turned out I had a lot of very interesting relatives back there. So I started to write. The first part of it has to do with just that I survived, and then blending into looking into my ancestry. I found it very distracting to do that. I found some interesting people back there, and so the story consists of me looking back and with the help of this woman, and with flashbacks to my ancestors, and then coming back to the present. And as time goes by, I develop becomes a romantic relationship with the person that's helping me. So it's a story of survival and history and love. When I started, I said, you really have to understand what love is all about, because we just throw that word around so casually. Love you, and to me, going through what I went through, Grace was my high school sweetheart. We got it for 56 years. And love is devotion. What's the difference between love and devotion? What's the difference between love and obligation? And as an engineer, I tried to analyze love and came down to the point where I decided that true love is a form of energy that can never be destroyed. So now I'm living. I was born in Buffalo, New York. I have so many memories for me there that those memories that I always thought would be happy memories now just drag me back to the past, and that's depressing for me. So I moved, for reasons, business and otherwise, to go around the world, and I had some legal consultancy that I was doing here in Las Vegas, and I liked the sunshine. It was so much different than Buffalo, and I knew Grace would hate it here. This is not, so it wasn't as though I was doing anything that, if I was enjoying myself here, I knew she wouldn't be enjoying it. So here I am. I'm in Henderson, Nevada, and I settled down to writing this novel, and it was therapeutic, and very important part of it is the Alzheimer's part of it. I'm dedicating or giving all of the proceeds from this book to the Alzheimer's Association, and that's about it.
Fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our broadcast, Norman McCombs. He's the author of A Reason to Be, and he's with us today here on the telephone talking a little bit about this incredible book. Now, A Reason to Be is biographical. How much of this is truth and how much of it is fiction, Norman?
75% fact. Uh, I wanted to do a narrative related to my ancestry, and obviously I had to make up certain parts of that, fill in the gaps. So I made it nonfiction. Made it fiction, but the fact of it is, to a great extent, it's autobiographical.
Fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on the telephone, Norman McCombs. He's the author of A Reason to Be, and he's with us today here on our big program here on iHeartRadio. So what prompted you to research your ancestry, my friend?
At one point, quite a few years ago, I had been looking up some patent of mine, Googling it, and an associated website had said descendants of Timothy McCombs, and I didn't know I had anyone named Timothy in my ancestry. And I looked into it, and it turned out that he was my fourth great-grandfather. And I met a fellow named Murray McCombs in Toronto who had done a great deal of work on it. He actually got a doctorate just researching the family. And there were some interesting characters back there, starting with the 15th century formation of the clan. We were Macintosh, as in the apple, and the oldest son, Thomas, split off from Macintosh, and he started his own clan, Thomas, which from Gaelic it comes out to the son of Thomas, Nahom. That's where my name comes from, and it goes through to Cromwell in England, to the sending of many Scots, Protestant Scots, to Ireland. And then from Ireland, my ancestors left from Belfast and came to the United States the pre-Revolutionary War of 1735. And their offspring had, one of them was a good friend of Alexander Hamilton. He helped found the New York Stock Exchange, and his son Alexander won the first Congressional Medal of Honor during the War of 1812. While Alexander's uncle and brother of Alexander Sr., Timothy, he went off to Canada. So there was free land given away by King George, and it turns out he was there as a spy. So he was actually giving information back to his brother in the States, which helped us beat the Brits back at Plattsburgh. And that was quite a problem there, because he was using information given to him by his son John, who was fighting against his first cousin, a general in the U.S. Army. He would send information where he was back to his father Timothy, and Timothy would give that information to his brother in the States. So King George was after him to draw and quarter him. There's a lot of intrigue there. It's all documented. So that inspired me to keep writing as I found out more and more about these people. I saw interesting folk along the way.
A Reason to Be, Norman McCombs with us today here in a broadcast. What part of your ancestry shocked you the most, my friend? Tell me a little bit about this.
Difficult question. I'll tell you, one thing I was really impressed with, I had a fellow named John Gordon McCombs, who was from Scotland to Ireland when Cromwell gave him free land there. And he had a bastard child with one of the housemaids. And his wife, Jane, was very heroic. She took that child in as her own, and took the young woman in as like a daughter. They just accepted it. And I found that to be amazing, that a woman would be able to do that. That bastard child turned out to be my fourth great-grandfather, Timothy. If he hadn't survived, I wouldn't be here. And he's the one that became an American spy, Timothy McCombs.
It is Norman McCombs with us today. He joins us live here in our big broadcast. And you have got an incredible book here, Reason to Be. Jiggy, and he's with us today here on a big broadcast. What part of your ancestry did you feel most connected to?
I have a third great grandfather, John, who was engineering like. He helped build the Welland Canal. He was an innovative guy, and that's how I'm often referred to. And as far as his general demeanor, I would like to think I'm something like him. He was a very forgiving fellow. He had my third great grandfather, his son Jacob, rather than take over the family business, he wanted to become a minister, and that was against his father's wishes. But his father was very sympathetic to that, and he encouraged him to become a minister, and so became a traveling minister in the province of Ontario in Canada. I think the combination of John being an engineering type fellow, and I like to think I'm empathetic, maybe too much so sometimes, but I relate to John the most.
It is a great guest with us today, a reason to be. It is Norman McCombs with us today here on our broadcast, and fantastic book. So what tips do you have for anyone who wants to start researching their own ancestry?
Well, for me, it had to do with the coincidence of happening to see the name Timothy McCombs on a website next to my own name. That, again, I was searching some patents, and it just started there. And I just had interest in it. My father immigrated to the United States from Canada when he was, in 1917, so it would have made him 25 when he came to the States. So my general feeling about this whole fact that he came to the United States as an immigrant got me thinking that I wanted to dig further into it. So when I saw this reference on Google, I called Murray McCombs, and he told me a lot of things that got me interested. And then I went to Ancestry.com, and I had other people help me with Ancestry.com. So that's a great resource. And so there's happenstance involved in my story, as there is with everyone's. But what I finally got down to was Ancestry.com, and I had this help from the library in New York, a woman I met there. That was pretty much her job to help out and things like that. So we dug deep into the history, and the deeper I got, I found I had some interesting folks back there. It got me going. I didn't have any criminals. Nobody was hung back there. I was afraid some would go some rascals, but I didn't. And again, it was very therapeutic for me. I was going through. I still suffer from depression, to some degree, because I've never gotten over the loss of my wife. But I'm much better than I was, and I was able to get through this book. And it was therapeutic for me. It kept me distracted and active. And I was learning along the way, which I suggest to everyone that every day, every morning you get up, you decide you're going to learn something new. Keep looking forward. It's hard for me to look back. It used to be hard for me to live in the present, but as a scientist, engineer, I was always looking forward. And I mentor, I'm involved with the university. But keep moving forward and treat every day as though it's important. Every flower you look at, think of it as maybe the last time you'll see a flower. That's why I'm trying to live my life now, except out here it's mostly cactus, it's cacti. It's big difference being born in Buffalo for 3 months of snow a year, and here we have 3 months of heat. Today it's going to be 111. It takes a little adapting.
Yes.
But I like the sunshine.
Well, I appreciate you making time for us today. Our next guest is calling. I've got to get to them, my friend.